essentially discount rates, where you discount the expected future dividends. So if you're discounting things at a higher rate, what happens to the result? Goes up or down? Down. Have to decrease. We haven't explicitly talked about, bid and ask codes, but when you read the chapter, it's there. The lowest ask code and highest bid code are referred to as inside codes. In stock markets, especially in NASDAQ, there are multiple market makers. All of them say, I'm willing to buy this many shares at this price. For example, let me show you live version of that. If you have the gold membership on Robinhood, which is $5 a month, you get what we call level 2 market data. Let's say you're dealing with Meta, aka Facebook. Okay. This is kind of the order flow. There's somebody who's willing to buy 2 shares at a price of $489.21. That's the highest bid. And somebody is willing to sell 7 stocks at $489.33. Okay. So these 2 numbers are the inside codes. And you may not be able to buy 1,000 shares, but you know exactly how much you can do. And pretty much for each price, you can see the order book. At least this is what you get from Robinhood. Remember, dealers or market makers sell at their ask price, they buy at their bid price. So when you give a market order, it goes to the bid price of the dealers. So going back here, for example, if you gave a market order of selling 2 shares, right now that would be executed at $489.26. Okay. But if you wanted to sell 100 shares, it's going to be pretty much these 3 will give you 100. Okay. Just because inside code says 489.19, it doesn't necessarily mean you could sell any number of shares at that price. It depends upon how much is at bid. Same thing over ask. If you gave a market order to buy 10 shares, you could buy it pretty much an average of $489.35. But 250 shares, you're going to have to pay a little bit more. Okay, again, I didn't directly cover these, but since we're doing a review, let's talk about it. And let me make this a bit bigger. An agent who buys and sells securities from the inventory is called a dealer. Do you think that's true or false? Think about cars, okay? If you go to a car dealer, they're going to buy stuff into their inventory, right? If you're selling or trading your car, if the transaction happens, that's going to be added to their inventory. Or if you buy a car from them, they're going to sell a car to you from their inventory. They make money based on, they obviously try to buy at a low price and sell at a high price. That's what a dealer does. On the other hand, you have brokers. They execute a transaction on your behalf. You say, I want to buy a car and I want to pay $22,000 on it. they go ahead and find it for you. There are online brokers that actually does that for you. I think Carvana is one of them. Those guys do not necessarily do it from their inventory. They're brokers. And for their services, because they don't buy or sell from their inventory, you give me an order to buy, and what was your name? Casey. I go to Casey and I say, "Are you willing to sell your car at 22,000?" He says, "Yes." Okay, I pay him the 22,000 that you pay me, but I don't take any risk. But for my services, I charge a commission. Okay, so I'm a commission broker. But this guy who buys or sells from their inventory is called a dealer. That's the definition of a broker. You basically arrange transactions between investors. I mean, Robinhood is my broker, right? When I give an order with a limit price on Robinhood, more often than not, they look at some of their other clients. If those other clients are willing to sell at a price that I'm willing to buy, it's automatically filled, and that doesn't even hit the market. It's called, the order is filled in the crowd. If one of their clients do not have such a sell order, they let that order to go to the market and they fill it from there. But either way, their job is to arrange the transaction. They don't necessarily sell out of their own inventory, except for options. Robinhood is actually option very active as a dealer in options for a lot of different reasons. They actually make most of their money from trading on those options. Because a lot of naive investors who trade in options, they give market orders to buy and sell. And bid offer spreads tends to be relatively high. And in most cases, for example, even on something as active as NVIDIA, let's look at this option. As you can see, bid offer spreads are rather tight, rather large. And in many cases, for relatively illiquid ones, for example, this one, oh, I don't think that was the option. This is the option. You see 79 contracts offered at 295. More, I would bet everything I have that at least 50 of those are Robinhood. The fair price of this is somewhere in between. So if there are investors that give market orders to buy, they're going to buy at 295. Those who give active orders to sell, they're going to sell at 260. Since Robinhood is on both ends, as long as there are foolish investors like that, they're going to make a lot of money, and they do. Because I pay no commissions at all for doing all this stuff on Robinhood, and they actually pay me 5% interest on my cash balances. So where are these guys making their money? Okay, this is actually false. Kind of give you this is something that you should have already read in the chapter, but knowing my students, they don't read the chapter until they have to. There's a difference between New York Stock Exchange and NASDAQ. New York Stock Exchange has a physical building, okay? The New York Stock Exchange. And there is a trading floor. It's very crazy. People do all sorts of hand signals to trade. In fact, if you want to see real crazy, go to the floor of Chicago Mercantile Exchange, especially commodities traders. Whew. They always pick big guys as floor traders because you have to be able to, shove people around so that you could see other people. And the traders, a member, and you have to be a member of New York Stock Exchange. A member who trades on the floor for their own accounts is just called a floor trader. Okay. If you're doing it for clients, you're a floor broker. Okay. Now, if you remember on the dividend growth model, when we said the so-called case one, dividends grow at a constant rate, there was one key assumption that discount rate has to be greater than the growth rate. Okay. Otherwise, the infinite sum that defines that value does not converge. This is actually false. It's the other way around. The discount rate has to be bigger than the growth rate. And in equity markets, there are essentially two markets. One is called the primary market, where you offer new securities. For example,